In recent decades, Turkey has experienced a significant shift in its religious landscape, marked by a discernible rise in atheism, deism, and irreligiosity. This change is particularly evident among younger generations, reflecting broader social, cultural, and political transformations within the country. Historically, Turkey has been a nation with a deep-rooted Islamic identity. Yet the trend toward atheism suggests a growing divergence from traditional religious norms. But today, the situation is changing. Recent surveys have shown a clear increase in the number of people in Turkey identifying as atheists or expressing irreligious views. According to a 2023 survey by the Ankara Institute, the percentage of Turks who identify as atheists or deists has been steadily rising. In the survey, 3.2% of respondents identified as deists, and 2.7% as atheists, indicating that nearly 6% of the population now rejects traditional religious beliefs. Moreover, the rise in atheism appears to be particularly pronounced among younger generations. Another survey revealed that nearly 28.5% of Generation Z in Turkey identified as irreligious. This is a sharp contrast to older generations, where religious affiliation remains far more prevalent. The trend suggests that young people in Turkey are increasingly questioning the role of religion in their lives, leading to a significant shift in the country's religious identity. This shift toward atheism and irreligiosity can be attributed to several interconnected factors, including the changing political climate, the influence of social media, and global culture and increasing educational opportunities that challenge traditional religious teachings. One of the most influential factors contributing to the rise of irreligiosity in Turkey is the increasing access to education and intellectual engagement with religious ideas. In the past, Turkey's education system was deeply intertwined with state-sponsored secularism. The compulsory religious courses in schools, while designed to teach students about Islam, were also intended to promote a sense of national unity and civic responsibility through secular means. However, in recent years, many Turkish students, particularly those in urban areas, have begun to question the religious teachings they receive in school. A study by Sakarya University and the Turkish Ministry of Education found that an increasing number of students were identifying as atheists, deists, or agnostics. These students often express frustration with the state-imposed religious curriculum and the compulsory nature of religion classes. The trend is particularly pronounced among students at secular universities, where there is greater intellectual freedom to explore alternative worldviews. The internet and social media platforms have also played a crucial role in shaping the opinions of younger generations. With access to global information, young people in Turkey are increasingly exposed to diverse perspectives on religion, philosophy, and science. The rise of online communities and social media influencers who advocate for secularism and irreligiosity has further reinforced this shift. Many young people in Turkey are now engaging with global discussions about atheism and irreligion, which has led to a broader questioning of traditional Turkish religious identity. The foundation of secularism in Turkey dates back to the establishment of the Turkish Republic in 1923 under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. Atatürk and his successors implemented a series of reforms aimed at modernizing the country and distancing it from the Ottoman Empire's deeply religious framework. One of the most significant reforms was the adoption of secularism as a core principle of the Republic, with the aim of creating a modern, progressive, and non-theocratic state. Atatürk's secularism was designed to promote the separation of religion from state affairs. This was exemplified by the abolition of the caliphate, the closure of religious schools, and the establishment of a secular public education system. Throughout the 20th century, secularism remained a cornerstone of Turkish state policy, influencing everything from public life to government policies. However, the political landscape began to shift in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, and with it, attitudes toward religion and secularism. The political landscape in Turkey has also contributed to the rise of irreligiosity and the changing nature of religious identity. Under the rule of Erdogan and his party AKP, Turkey has experienced a significant shift toward more religiously conservative policies. Erdogan's government has openly advocated for a more Islamic identity for the nation, citing Islam as a central tenet of Turkish culture and politics. The government's push to raise a devout generation through various policies, such as promoting religious education and encouraging religious practices, has sparked concerns among secularists. These policies have been criticized for undermining the secular principles enshrined in Turkey's constitution. The rise of Islamic conservatism in politics has also made it more difficult for non-religious people and secularists to freely express their beliefs without facing public backlash. In addition to state-sponsored religious initiatives, there has been increasing pressure on the media and public institutions to align with Islamic values. Diyanet, the Directorate of Religious Affairs, has expanded its influence, actively promoting religious practices and reinforcing Islamic moral codes. In this environment, non-religious people and secularists have found themselves at odds with the government's emphasis on Islam in public life. Turkey's constitution guarantees freedom of religion, and secularism is enshrined as a fundamental principle of the state. However, the reality of secularism in Turkey has become increasingly complex. While the constitution maintains a separation of religion and state, the growing influence of religious institutions such as the Diyanet has blurred the lines between state and religion. The Diyanet plays an active role in shaping religious discourse in Turkey, with its influence extending into areas such as education, media, and public policy. In recent years, secularists have expressed concerns that the government's increasing support for religious values is undermining the secular foundation of the state. These concerns have been amplified by the rise of Islamism within the ruling AKP and the government's efforts to promote religious values in schools and public institutions. As secularism comes under strain, non-religious people in Turkey face an uncertain future, navigating a political environment that increasingly marginalizes their beliefs. Despite the growing number of people identifying as atheists or deist, atheism remains stigmatized in Turkish society. Many atheists face significant social pressure, especially from their families and communities. In a society where religious identity is often equated with national identity, rejecting religion can be seen as a form of cultural betrayal. Atheists in Turkey often report feeling isolated and marginalized, and many choose to keep their beliefs private for fear of discrimination. One of the most striking aspects of this stigma is the way in which atheism is often viewed as a threat to the moral fabric of society. For example, when discussing the rise of atheism, Turkish political and religious leaders often describe atheism as a dangerous ideology that threatens the nation's unity and Islamic values. This rhetoric has contributed to the growing sense of alienation among atheists in Turkey, who feel that their views are not only unpopular but also condemned by the broader society. The rise of atheism, deism, and irreligiosity in Turkey is part of a broader shift in the country's religious and cultural landscape. While secularism has been a foundational principle of the Turkish Republic, recent political and societal changes have created a more complex and dynamic religious environment. Atheism, once considered a fringe belief in Turkish society, is now a growing movement, particularly among younger generations who are increasingly questioning the role of religion in their lives. The growing visibility of atheism and irreligiosity in Turkey raises important questions about the future of secularism and the role of religion in public life. As the country continues to grapple with the tensions between secularism and Islamism, the rise of atheism represents a significant challenge to the status quo. The evolving religious landscape in Turkey highlights the shifting identities of its citizens and the broader social changes that are reshaping the nation. How Turkey navigates these changes will have profound implications for its future, both politically and socially.